Hello everybody, and thanks for showing up with me today to do a bit of yoga. So it's the time of year now where we really should be a little more introspective and maybe a little quieter with our practice. And so I have designed this practice for you today to really cultivate your sense of presence. And when I use the word presence, it's sort of interchangeable with the way I use mindfulness. So it's just a powerful internal presence. And this is really great for your yoga practice, but it's also really good for you to develop it and be able to take it off the mat into your life. That powerful presence is how we really meet life on its own terms. And if it were easy, everybody would do it. And it's not that it's very simple to develop this powerful presence, this mindfulness, but it's not easy because it does require dedicated practice, which of course is what you're doing by showing up every week here. I think we'll go ahead and start on our backs. So hands to the heart, namaste, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and center on our backs today. So we're coming to the floor now, all of us. And when you first get to the floor, just really feel the heaviness of your back along the floor. So this is important, just to touch in. Not to think, yeah, I know what we're doing, let's move on to the next thing. It's part of the challenge, really, of just being present. So feeling the back of your body on the floor, if you will, let's let your knees cradle into each other so you can just be really comfortable. Put one hand on your heart, one hand on your abdomen, and just notice that you're breathing and the feel of the breath in your own body. At this point, all you're doing is being present for your breath. You're not doing anything to change it at this moment. And when you feel like you've arrived and you do feel present with your own breathing and you can feel it in the body, then you can start to shift just a little bit by maybe trying to lengthen the breath. So as you know by now, we're trying for at least a 6 count inhale and exhale. So just feel that. And then you can develop a sense of expansion when you inhale. And since we're on our backs breathing, notice that when you exhale, all this really required is that you release and relax your rib cage and just let the breath go. At the end of that exhale, it might be good to bring the navel in and up a little bit to assist the last part of the exhale to exit the body. But just begin the inhale by feeling the expansion. So your hand is actually moving the body's actually moving under your hand. And when you exhale, just notice that all you have to do is release. And then perhaps, again, bring the navel in and up a little bit at the end of that exhale. So having found that deep, full breath in the body, let's do this 3 more times, just quietly. Turning inward and feel your breath. 3 more complete repetitions. Taking in as much air as you can on the inhale and just easily letting it go on your exhale. And you're going to continue breathing just like that throughout the entire practice. But for right now, let's go ahead and stretch the legs out. Stretch the arms over the head. Just let yourself have a really big stretch here. Oh, maybe let it sigh out as you exhale. And then you can bring the arms back to the sides of the body. Bend your knees. And from here, just reach up and separate your fingers really wide. And when you exhale, make a fist and really tighten up in the hands. And then when you inhale, spread out in the fingers again. And on the exhale, tighten up in the fists. Really make a big ball in your fists. One more time, inhale, separate those fingers, reach up. Feel the stretch in the hands. And then as you exhale, make a fist. And then if you will, just interlock your hands overward with the palms facing you. And as you exhale, just bring the hands back to the heart again, bending the elbows. And just for a few breaths, when you inhale, bring those interlocked hands straight up. And when you exhale, hands come back down towards the heart. And just get a sense for this particular movement that when you inhale, energy is going out, radiating outward. And when you exhale, you're gathering that energy back into your heart space. And again, just get a feeling of that radiating outward as you inhale and bringing it all back in towards yourself as you exhale. The next time you inhale and your interlocked hands are upward, arms are extended, just pause for the exhale. And when you inhale, you bring those interlocked hands behind your head. Maybe they can touch all the way to the floor. And again, we're doing a little mindfulness work now and also balancing the right and left hemispheres of the brain. As you exhale, you're going to bring the right sole of the foot up, the right knee comes closer into the body, and those interlocked hands come down, and you're just going to interlock right in front of the shin. And continue, if you can, the exhale so you can bring the right thigh a little closer into the body. And then when you inhale, you're rising up with the arms and just allowing the right sole of the foot back to the floor, bringing the arms right back over the head. As you exhale, left sole of the foot comes up, the left knee's coming closer in towards the body, and those interlocked hands now cup behind, or in front rather, of the left shin. Continue the exhale and bring the left thigh a little closer in. And as you inhale, left sole of the foot comes to the floor, and those interlocked hands go behind your head. Allow the stretch. Just like that, there's the movement. As you exhale, the right sole of the foot lifts off the floor and you cup the hands right in front of that right shin and continue drawing in as you continue the exhale. Inhaling, sole of the foot comes back to the floor and you reach the arms over your head. So just continue this on your own breathing pattern. You know the movement now. Exhaling, you're cupping the hands right behind the knee and drawing the knee closer in towards the body. And you're inhaling back to the starting position, really allowing those arms to settle back behind your head as much as they're able to do. Just do one more complete sequence now on either side. Try to stay present with all sensations and the complete movement throughout. And then the next time you've inhaled, on an exhale, we're just going to bring the arms back to the sides of the body. From this position, you're going to bring the feet off the floor so the knees face upwards towards the ceiling. And this time, as you exhale, you're going to bring the right arm over the head. At the same time, you're extending the left leg out. We're doing this on an exhale so you can have some abdominal core engagement. Reaching out with that left leg, but letting the left heel hover off the floor. And then as you inhale, the right arm comes back and the leg comes back to the starting position. So it's on an exhale, look, raising the left arm over your head, extending out with the right leg, and try to just let that right heel hover off the floor. You have to feel some engagement here in the core. Inhaling, coming back to the starting position. So just continue with that movement as you exhale. Right arm comes back, left leg goes out, and the heel hovers. And slowly as you inhale back to the starting position. Just like that. Opposite arm and leg go up and back as you exhale. And you're drawing it all back in again as you inhale. Do one more complete repetition on your own breath. Nice and slow, and feel everything, particularly on that exhale. Let the navel come closer to the spine and feel the engagement in the deep core. Inhaling it and bringing it all back. Last one, as you exhale, arm goes back, opposite leg goes forward, and inhale, release here. Very nice. And when you get back to this position, go ahead and cup your hands just in front of the knee rather, and bring both knees closer in towards the body. Just a couple breaths like that. As you exhale, you're bringing the thighs closer in. And just let them come away as you inhale. Very good. And when you feel ready, we're all going to come to a seated position. And remember, you've always got the option, if you want to be a little more active, to rock and roll on the spine, or you can just simply roll over to the side. And we're all going to come to a seated position. I'm just going to come to cross-legged here. As long as your body allows you to do this, we're going to have just a little twist here. So in the cross-legged position, you're going to get really tall as you inhale. We're going to come easily into the twist. The important thing in this movement is that, of course, your body's going to do the twist just to its point of comfort. But I want you to follow over towards the right as we go with your eyes all the way. And when you get to the limit, I want you to take your eyes all the way to the right within your own eyeball. Okay, so this is important. It's a little technique that really can help create some mindfulness. So you're inhaling tall. As you exhale, you're pivoting over to the right, and you let your eyes follow the direction of movement all the way. And when you reach your comfortable limit with the twist, just let your gaze continue all the way to the back corners, right corners of your eyes, all the way back. And when you release, make sure your gaze follows all the way back to center. Inhaling tall at center and doing the same thing to the other side. As you exhale, let your gaze follow to the left, all the way, coming all the way into that movement. And then take your eyes all the way back to those left corners of your eyeball, looking right back to the left as far as you can. And then coming back to center. And if you will, do that one more time to either side. On your own breath, remember you're inhaling tall first, and then you're exhaling. Important part is just taking the eyes over into the twist. And the same with the other side. Let your gaze follow the direction of movement. And back to center again. From here, let's make our way into tabletop position. And from the tabletop position, let's just have a little forearm and wrist stretch. So flip your fingers back to face your body. if this is doable for you, what you're doing is taking the weight a little bit away from your arms into your hips, and then gradually pressing fingers, palm, and heel of the hand as you take your weight back into the arms a little more. If this is too much for you, it's much more doable if you do one hand at a time. Of course, it just takes a little more time that way. But do both hands if you can. And if it's just uncomfortable, you have the option of going one hand at a time. So if you're feeling any discomfort, I strongly urge you to do one hand at a time. Otherwise, you're very patiently rolling back with your weight and then back and a little more into the arms with your weight. Just breathe long and slow. If you're doing one arm at a time, one hand at a time, you'll need to switch wrists. Nice, long, slow breaths here. Take the moment you need to. We don't do this very often, and it's a wonderful stretch for our forearms. So just take advantage of this opportunity and really feel that. And then one hand at a time, you're going to flip the fingers back towards forward when you're ready. Flex your toes under and come back. Again, now we're going to do our feet as well. I've said before, if this is really difficult for you, I suggest you actually do it more often, but just don't hold it as long. So for those of you who can hold it, of course, we're just sitting into the posture for a few breaths. If you need to come in and out a little bit, feel free to do that. Just a little movement sometimes assists. So find what works best for you and just allow your feet to come into this lovely stretch. It's so important to keep our hands and feet healthy as time goes on. So with your full presence, you're feeling all the sensations and you're trying to breathe those long, slow breaths throughout. Different kind of challenge doing this. And when you've had enough, you can come out, coming back to the tabletop position. Let's just do a little free flow now. Sort of that cat-cow movements, but I want you to try to make it your own. It's called pranic cat-cow. So do little movements, maybe figure eights. What I want you to try to find is parts in your spine that feel really stiff and rigid. So we're only going to spend a few more moments here, so just go in as much as you can and try to find those little places in your back body, in your side body, that just feel stiff. And sometimes movement is exactly the remedy for that. Very good. And then coming back to our neutral tabletop, having your hand position so you know you can put the weight from the roots of the fingers all the way into the inner hands. And as you inhale, just press a little more into the inner hands and feel a little broadening in your collarbones. And you're looking forward a little bit. As you exhale, you're setting the hips right back towards your heels. Forearms touch the floor. And here's the important part. Extend that exhale so that you can release your neck, release your low back. Before you begin the inhale, and press off your ankles and come on back up again. When you get there, a little more weight into your inner hands and you broaden the collarbones as you look forward. And exhaling, sinking those hips right back towards the heels. Elbows touch the floor. And then release the weight of your head and neck and release your hips as close as they can to the heels. Inhaling, coming on back up. Little lift in the heart here as you put the weight into the inner hands. As you exhale, a little side bend. You look behind yourself to the right, and the right hips and the right shoulders try to come a little closer together. As you inhale, back to center, a little lift in the heart. Feel that inner hand. As you exhale, over to the left, that little C curve. Left shoulders, left hips come closer together. And you inhale and look forward. And on your own breathing now, you're sinking back as you exhale. Hips towards the heels. Release your head. Inhale, pressing back up, looking forward. And exhale, little side bend to the right. Your gaze follows. Inhaling to center, lifting the heart a little bit. And exhaling over to the left. Big inhale to center. And the exhale takes you right back down, hips towards the heels. And from this extended child's pose now, start to walk your fingers further forward. And then come to the point that is the best stretch you can manage for your own arms. Relax your head and neck. And then can you come up and tent your fingers? And so from that position, you might be able to get just a little more length in your spine. And as you press into those finger points, feel that, really pressing down. And then can you just nudge your tailbone another centimeter behind you? Just feel that little stretch in the spine. Big exhale. Just let go. And try to come up now with a little strength in your core. So immediately feel your core draw in as you exhale. And keep that firm engagement as you just trace the fingers back. Your core is really, really strong here. And you're coming back into a kneeling position. Very good. And from here, you come back into the tabletop position. Just feel yourself moving nice and slow again with your full presence, with your full breathing. Hands come one hand length further ahead, and you're going to flex your toes under. Come on into a downward facing dog. You're feeling those inner hands, and let your head and neck relax, looking right back at your own thighs. If you need a little movement in downward facing dog, please feel free to take that now. Your calf muscles feel stiff or just tight. It's fine just to pedal a little bit. As you do that, try not to lean too much into one hand or the other. So let the lower body do that work. Very nice. And then from here, from your classic downward facing dog, I want you to take a big step towards your hands and nice and wide. And the other leg does the same, other foot does the same. And then you can maybe bring your hands a little closer together and more towards the center. And the idea, of course, is to really feel the weight in the legs. Let the legs take the weight from the hips all the way down the back of your legs into your heels. Can you feel that engagement? So it's a lovely way to really, and safe way to really stretch the backs of your legs. Let the upper body just sort of drape here. Nice, long, slow breaths and a little more weight into your heels. You can, again, adjust this for your own body. You can bring those arms a little, or hands, fingertips a little closer in towards your legs if you need that. Maybe shift a little bit right to left, and just with your full awareness, feel all the sensations here. And plant the left hand right down to center. Take your right hand and try to reach for your left ankle. And if you can do that, that's great. And you can pause, let your head and neck relax as much as it can. And then maybe using the bicep strength in that right arm, maybe if it feels okay, you can bring your torso a little closer in towards that left leg. Maybe just a couple of inches, but just feel the effort there. And relax the torso and the head and neck. Let the work happen in the bicep of the right arm and that left leg. And then release. Right hand takes the place of the left, and then your left arm is free to reach over for that right ankle. And you're taking your time with this and really feeling everything. So you're releasing first. How does that feel in your body? If it feels okay to continue, that's when you start to pull your torso a little closer in towards the right leg. You want to have long, slow breaths. And then release. Hands come back, legs come back, and just have another little classic downward facing dog here. Nice and easy. Now we're going to come into plank. What I want you to do is feel your core leading the way. So what it feels like as you draw in, your tailbone might need to curl under just a little bit so the shape in your back changes. Weight stays in your inner hands as you pull, maybe a little play in your knees, as you pull yourself into the plank pose. Press into those hands, really strong here. When you come back to downward facing dog, you're also going to lead with the core. So the core draws in. So see the little shape in your pelvis and your spine as the core draws in. Tailbone might need to tuck under, and you come back into downward facing dog. Relax your head and neck. Long, slow breaths. You've got this. As you inhale, again, but your core is doing the work. Despite the inhale, your core has to do the work. So remember a little movement here as you come forward into the plank pose. And pause here. Let the body feel the challenge. And then draw back with the core as you exhale, coming on back to downward facing dog. And slowly bring your knees right down to the mats. Very good. Stepping forward with the right foot right into your low lunge. And just feel your way through this now. You might want to interlock your hands just behind that front knee. Square the chest. As you exhale, draw up the arms. If all that feels okay, you'll be able to inhale and reach up. Really reach up nice and high. Feel those muscles working as you lift the chest, rib cage away from the pelvis. And then exhale. Let's release down. And just for a moment here, let's go ahead and put the right hand to the big toe side of your right foot and walk that right foot out a little bit. The toes are pointing out to the left. And just have a little play with this, just a little exploration here. Let the hips open up as much as they can. If you're feeling any discomfort, then you need to just bring the foot in a little bit more. The idea is to be 100% aware of all your sensations and just keep breathing. Tiny little movements. And then a little more strength in those arms so you can walk that right foot back in. Lift up flex the back toes, lift up into a high lunge. See how that feels. Really feel the weight into that front sole of the foot. And then as you exhale, little version of pyramid pose. Feeling the stretch, of course, in the front, the back of the front leg, but also as you feel the ball of the back foot, you can feel the stretch in your back calf as well. Nice and easy. We're going to inhale, coming back into the high lunge. Lower that back knee and draw back into the tabletop position. Any little movement you need, of course, feel free to take that now. When you're ready, we're going to come forward with the left foot. So just as and when you're ready. Nice and slow. You're doing every movement and feeling it all. If the left foot forward feels fine and you can feel this low lunge position in the pelvis, it all feels well, you can probably interlock your hands just behind that front knee. Falls well, you can let the arms drop to the sides of the body. Let the core muscles do the work as you inhale, reach up. Nice, full breathing. It's on an exhale, we're gonna, with control, come on back down again. Once you're there, we'll try this little lizard pose on the other side. So you're walking those left heel and toe out to the side just a little bit till you're about off the mat with that foot. And then see how this feels. Just explore the sensations you might be feeling here. Maybe sway the hips back and forth a little bit. I mean, some of you might have the flexibility to come right down onto your elbows. Just see, not required, nothing's required. All I want you to do is be wide open with your sense of awareness. Just have a couple quiet, calm breaths in this. When you've had enough, we're going to walk the left foot back, place the hand on the outside of that foot, and then we can come into the high lunge by tucking the toes under and feeling the high lunge on the opposite side now. And slowly from here, we'll come into our pyramid pose. Remember, it's always okay as you come into pyramid. If you need to step that back foot a little closer in towards the front, it's fine. Whatever really gives you the best posture. And then you're just going to exhale and release and just be here for a couple of breaths. Notice where you put your awareness is important. So if you put your awareness more on the front foot, you'll feel the back of the front leg stretch. If you toggle your awareness back to the back ball of the foot, you'll feel more the calf muscle in the back stretch. When you've had enough, we come back into our lunge on the inhale. Very good. And from here, we're going to exhale and bring that foot back, left foot back to meet the right into downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, we're going to slowly start to walk to standing. So remember, you can walk the feet closer to the hands closer to the feet, whichever feels best, or some little combination between the two. As you get the hands and feet closer, of course, you've got to make the legs work. So the bums drop down, and then you have this little ledge on your thighs. You're very familiar with that by now. Place the hands on those thighs. Keep the collarbones broad, and let's all come up to standing from here. So hopefully now we're all to standing. So when you get there, if you need any little movement, sometimes it's just nice to roll the shoulders up, back and down, or move the arms around a little bit. See what feels good to you right now. And then come into your Tadasana. Just do your own little checks just to make sure that you can really feel the weight through the feet, that in those 3 little pressure points at the bottom of the feet, you're feeling that pressing down, making a deeper footprint. You can feel the legs engage, and you can feel lengthening in the torso. So as you feel your heart rise just a little bit, you can feel also the tailbone trying to point more between the heels. And so make this that little checklist each and every time to get stronger and stronger. And from here, fold hands to the heart and just interlock your fingers. And feel yourself just bring those hands out and up and over the head as you inhale, pressing firmly as much as you can, as big a stretch as you can. The next time you inhale, press firmly into the feet and upward with those interlocked hands. If all is well, on the next inhale, I want you to lift up your heels from the floor right onto the balls of your feet. So come up as high as you can. All is well. You can exhale rather, release the heels, release the arms, and let's try that again. Hands to the heart, interlock your hands. This time let's do it all together. As you inhale, you're rising the arms out and up and coming up onto the balls of your feet. Nice and slow breathing as you exhale. You're releasing, dropping heels to the floor. Arms come back. Hands to the heart. And as you're ready for the next inhale, we're ready to do that all again. Interlock your hands, and as you inhale, rising up on the heels, or away from the heels rather, onto the tippy toes, and bringing the arms over your head. And exhale, release. And just one more time, if you will, hands to the heart, interlock your hands. As you inhale, rising up with the arms, coming right up as far as you can onto your tippy toes. And just see, can you hold this now for a few breaths? Just challenge your balance. If you fall out, you know what to do. You're just going to come back again into the position. And just allow yourself, your own mind, to decide when you're going to come out. And when you're ready, you're exhaling and releasing. Separate the feet nice and wide, and let's just have a little release of physical tension here. Release of resistance. Speed it up if you can, and really start to get the feeling that you're throwing off any residual tension in the body. Let yourself flow nice and freely. Let the head and neck follow as it wants. And slowly let the movement subside, and then bring your hands and feet a little closer together again. And standing at the at the top of your mat. I'm not doing that because I'm trying to stay in the camera. But you're coming to the tops of your mat, into your mountain pose. Inhaling the arms up to the sides. And as you exhale, just swan diving into a nice forward bend, controlling the legs, touching the floor somewhere. If you're not able to touch the floor, maybe touch the shins. As you inhale, you want to rise up into a nice flat back. This is where you might be better served if you let your hands slide up your thighs or shins, or even all the way up to the thighs, and just really breathe and lift your heart. Let the back muscles do a little work. Bring your shoulder blades back and down. And then you can slide the hands back down as you exhale. Coming back into your forward bend, releasing the head and neck. Start to feel this little step-by-step progression. As you exhale, you feel the core, abdominal core drawing in. You feel yourself, the weight going back into the heels, and maybe bending your knees, softening your knees a little bit. And notice from this position of the weight into the heels, a little play in your legs, knees, you can sweep up easily and safely on the inhale. Exhale, fold hands to the heart. Have a breath, really full, long, slow breath. And let's do that again. As you exhale, lower the arms. As you inhale, sweep the arms out to the sides and up over your head. As you exhale, swan dive to the floor. And from here, if you will, maybe bring your hands a little further away from your feet. It'll be different for all of our bodies, but you want at least 12 inches, maybe 18 inches between your hands and your feet. Relax your head and neck here. So we're staying in a bit of a forward bend, but a little easier because your hands are more forward than your feet, right? And from this position, I want you to try to feel the weight in your hands, just like you do in tabletop and downward facing dog. So you feel it in the roots of the fingers, and then can you feel it come a little bit more into the inner hands? Very nice. So as you inhale, take the weight out of your hands and really feel it right into the heels and lean back just a little bit. As you exhale, a little bend in the knees, little core strength, and you're letting the weight go into your hands a little bit more. You want to feel the weight go into the inner hands, bend the knees as much as you need to take as much weight as is comfortable into your arms and hands. And then inhale, come on back. The weight is going straight down from your hips towards your heels, and you can stretch your back a little bit. Relax. As you exhale, you're leaning, maybe coming onto the balls of the feet, leaning more weight into your hands. You feel the inner hands looking forward a little bit. Bend the knees. And as you inhale, coming back with the weight centered right over your legs and heels. Relax your head and neck. And exhaling, just start to feel that weight shift and enjoy that little, it's like a little vinyasa. As you exhale, you're coming onto the balls of your feet, core's engaged. You feel the weight in your inner hands, a little bend in the knees. And inhaling, coming back, legs are straighter and the weight's into the heels. So for all of you who know crow pose, you're doing all the actions of crow pose. You're just not coming into the full pose yet, which is absolutely fine. If this feels a little bit like, oh, I would like to go further, you can try to come into a crow pose. It's not required. You're doing, if this is enough, you're doing everything you need to do to strengthen the core and strengthen the arm muscles as you would in crow pose. If you'd like to try crow pose though, what you need to do is really bring your knees close in towards your elbows. And little separation between hands and feet of about a foot. And the more you can round your back and get those knees in towards your armpits, the better. And then it takes real core strength. That's the actual secret. And you're bringing the hands weight into your hands, and you may or may not want to lift up one foot or the other. And so for those of you who would like to try it, you can do that. Otherwise, just have a couple more breaths in that little vinyasa movement of inhaling into long straight legs, weight back towards the heels, and exhaling, coming onto the balls of the feet and a little more weight into the hands. And there you are. So wherever you are in this process, if you've decided to try crow pose, just don't spend a lot of time on it. I want us to just touch into that this evening or today, and then come back into your inhale phase where we're all into a forward bend with our hands a little bit further ahead. And slowly from here, you're taking the weight into your heels, little bend in the knees, core strength, so you can come on up to standing. And exhale, fold at the heart, and release when you feel ready. Full breathing. Coming right to the top of your mats now. Little separation in your feet, so you have a little more space between your right and left foot as you the normal for Tadasana. And then you're going to step back with your right leg. Put your hands right to your hips. What I'd like for you to check, because of what we're about to do here, I want the back toes turned forward as much as possible. So we are going to come into the very beginnings of a warrior one pose. The back heel's probably lifting off the floor. It should be, unless you're a little skewed in the foot. So try to arrange so all 10 toes are pointing forward. And nice and slowly now, you're going to focus on just the back leg. So the front leg is your firm foundation. That knee and thigh is staying put. And just begin to breathe. The back knee bends, goes towards the floor. You're not moving the front leg. So it takes just a little bit of time to get your head around this one. And then you're going to inhale and straighten the back leg as much as you can. You're going to exhale and bend it, the back knee, and inhale and straighten it. Hands to the hip just for stability. And you might be able to do as many as 10 repetitions. If you can't do 10, just do as many as you can here. It's quite a challenge if you're doing it correctly. And it's really good for your hip joint. It's a great strengthener for all of the muscles that attach to that hip joint. And when you've had enough, as you inhale and straighten the back leg, as you exhale, release the arms to the sides of the body. And as you inhale, sweep the arms up and reach up. And from here, you're going to exhale. Whenever you feel the need, release the arms. Couple little steps to come back out. So from here, you're going to come right to the tops of the mat again. We have to finish this sequence with the other side. So as you're ready, make sure there's that separation between right and left foot. And carefully step back with your left leg now. Right leg is the front leg. And you might need to wiggle around a little bit. You're on the ball of that back foot, and all 10 toes are facing forward. Put the hands on the hips as you bend the front knee, and just find the stability of the posture first. And when you're ready, you're going to have really slow, long breaths, and you're just going to focus on bending and extending the back knee. Now, you may not be able to do much. What I'd like you to do, though, is to bend it as much as you can, even if it's just an inch. So you're bending the knee in the back and straightening the knee. Bending the knee in the back and straightening the knee. You feel all of the muscles in the back of that left leg really trying to help, including the gluteal muscle. Just let that work. And when you feel like you've had enough, when you inhale and straighten the leg, you're going to pause, straighten the back leg rather, and you're going to exhale, release the arms to the sides of the body. And then you're going to inhale and just lift up into your classic warrior one. Long, full breaths. And slowly, when you feel ready, we're going to release the arms to the sides of the body. And then you'll need a couple steps to come back forward again. And come right into your mountain pose. Lower the eyes. Just have a couple breaths here. And just to make sure, it's really nice this time of year, especially to focus a lot on balance. So let's go ahead and have a little play with Warrior 3 again. So from your Tadasana, you're all in that pose right now. Little weight shift into your left leg. So left leg is firmly holding you. And slowly begin to lift the right knee. It's as if it's on a little marionette string. Putting your hands first to the heart. If all is well, on the next inhale, you can raise the arms over the head. And this is a big balance challenge all by itself. Let's really go for it now. On your exhale, just kick the leg back, right leg back, and try to come and do whatever version of Warrior 3 you're able to come into. If you fall out, it's no problem at all. Just nice and quietly, you're breathing and just really being present with this pose and all of the challenges it's going to bring to you. And when you're ready to release, you're slowly coming out, but we're going to try to come in to that starting position. Arms over the head and the right knee raised before we release it. So really have a little play with this, and don't worry if you try to fall out of the pose. Remember, that's fine. That's all training for your brain and body. As you're ready, we'll do the other side. So from the mountain pose this time, of course, the right leg needs to be the standing leg. And just be nice and slow with this. As you raise now the left knee, hands are to the heart. When you're ready, you raise the arms rather over the head. And from here, on an exhale, you'll kick back that back leg, that left leg, into warrior three. And just, you want to hold it as long as you can. If you are holding it though, just make sure that you're still thinking about, on the exhales, just firming up in the core a little bit. Whenever you're ready to let go and come out of it, again, try to come back to that beginning position, or right before you came into the warrior three, with the left knee raised up and the arms raised up over your head before you release completely. Back to your mountain pose. Just place hands to the heart here. Just have a few breaths where you're aware of the feeling of the breath in the body. And this is best done by, again, just when you inhale, you'll feel the sternum, the breastbone, press a little more into your thumbs. And then when you exhale, that contact breaks away a little bit. Can you be present for this for 3 more breaths? Closing your eyes, having full breaths, and just feeling the breath move in the body. Right, and so from here, let's all come back to the floor. We're going to try to do a little pigeon pose before we go to the floor. So let's all meet in tabletop position. As we're all back on the floor again, we're going to come into tabletop. And we're going to make this so easy. Some of you might actually prefer to come into pigeon pose from downward facing dog, but it's not necessary. If you want to really keep it simple and easy, all you're going to do from tabletop is just move your right knee towards your right wrist. You want to make sure that you turn so that the shin and the foot of that right leg is coming out towards the left. And then from here, you're going to ease down, just walking on the top of that back foot and the knee, and just wiggle yourself down so you can bring that right hip in to as close to the floor as it will go. And here's where you almost certainly need some sort of a bolster. So if you can place a brick or your blanket, a folded blanket, right under that right hip. If you don't have one, you can stop the video. That's the beauty of a video, isn't it? So when you come into the position, just a couple of little checks here. First, of course, you want to make sure that this right hip is comfortable. So you might need to have a little look. Make sure that right thigh is lined up in a parallel way with the right side of your mat. Make sure that's happening. Make sure the back leg is not skewed and you're not laying on the kind of inside of that leg. You want to be from the kneecap down, just nice and at the center of the leg. And then when all of that is happening, try to walk your fingertips back a little bit and press into the hands so you can really rise up through the torso. And that's from the pelvic bowl upward with your spine coming out. I just feel that challenge and just have a couple of breaths. And if all is well, you can start to come into a little more weight into your elbows. This is called sleeping pigeon, and just come as far as you can comfortably without any discomfort in the right hip joint. So you want to, if you feel a little sensation, that's probably okay, but be very careful. Just a word of caution, when you just plow all your weight down in this position, your hip joint is actually in a vulnerable place. So if you put too much weight and it's actually not ready for it, you can do some damage. So it's really good to hold your weight onto your forearms, maybe the entire time. But if you feel pretty confident, you might be able to come down on double fists and rest your forehead there. And only if you feel really sure of the flexibility of your own hip do you want to come lower than that. And just have a few breaths here now and just let that hip completely release. Let it stretch. And remember, there's no niggles of bad sensation. If it doesn't feel good, please do come out of the pose. And you'll want to enjoy just a few breaths here, and then we'll have to release out. So nice and slowly, just like you went in, we're going to come back out with our hands close into the body and our hearts lifted. And then you're going to sweep out. Here's where it might be good, even if you didn't take downward facing dog to begin, it might be good to have a downward facing dog now. Stretch those legs out. And then you can choose when we come into pigeon on the other side. You can either sweep the left knee towards the left wrist right from where you are, or it's fine to come into tabletop and then place yourself a little more carefully. And of course the same thing, you want to have a little look, make sure the left thigh from the bent knee down to the hip, or back to the hip, is lined up in a parallel way with the left side of your mat. And as you wiggle back, you want to let that left hip, the bent knee hip, be bolstered. So the pelvis is level. Left and right sides of your hips and pelvis is level. You just have a moment. Make sure the back leg is nice and in alignment. And then you can lift your heart. Take a little weight in your arms. And after a couple of breaths there, you can ease down to the floor and enjoy sleeping pigeon for a few breaths. And just make sure your breath is long and slow and really full. So you're not holding on to your breath at all, you're just letting it flow. And again, with your full awareness, we're going to start reversing out of the pose. Coming back into that beginning pigeon phase where the weight is in your arms a little more, your heart is lifted. And then we're going to shift enough to come back one more time into our downward facing dog. Very good. Let's slowly come out now of downward facing dog and roll over. So now we get to come to our backs again. Just take your time. Come on down to the floor. And when you get there, enjoy your full frontal stretch, but let's separate arms and legs a little bit, like you're in a little X shape. When you first get there, just focus on one side as you inhale and stretch fully and completely on that one side. Exhale, release. Inhale, do the other side. And release. Before we come out, let's do both sides. You're really reaching up with the arms, reaching down with the legs. And then letting go. Nice and slowly bring those arms back to the sides of the body. Bending the knees, soles of the feet on the floor. And then you're going to bring the right thigh in towards the chest, interlock your hands, and stretch the left leg out. So just have maybe 3 breaths like this, and you can choose, do you want to just do a little movement as you breathe, or would you prefer just to exhale and cozy that right thigh in towards the body and just leave it there for 3 breaths? Whichever version you choose, just make sure that the head is released back to the floor, shoulders are released back. And you're breathing really fully here. And then really simple, you're just going to switch sides here. So now the left knee is going to be towards the chest, and you're going to interlock your hands just above the left shin. And you're going to cozy that left thigh into the body as you exhale. And you're going to just choose, do you want to leave it there? Or again, as we often do you want to move in and out of it on the breath? After you've had at least 3 breaths, you can release. Bring that sole of the foot to the floor. And stretch out again. Let's just have a little version now of fish pose called Matsyasana. Bringing the elbows nice and close in towards the body, and the forearms and fingers are pointing up towards the ceiling. Legs are long and straight. As you inhale, press into the elbows and press the toes out. And just lift up a little bit on behind your heart space. And you can hold that if it's comfortable, or if it's accessible to you, or if it's better for you, you can come in and out as you exhale, releasing. And as you inhale, again, pressing into the elbows, pressing out through the toes, and lifting the back body just behind the chest and the heart. And that's fine, but if you feel like you want to do a little bit more, you extend the arms down. What you'll want to do is get those hands underneath your body. So you've got to cozy the elbows and the shoulder blades underneath. Your palms are down towards the floor. Legs are straight. And this time for you, this is fish pose as well. It's just a stronger version. As you inhale, pressing into the elbows, you're lifting the heart, but you're trying to roll onto the crown of your head. And you will stay in this position for several breaths. As I said, if it's accessible to you. And if you try it and decide, oh, it's a little strong, you can always come back to the first version. After just a few breaths, you can ease yourself out of fish pose. Any little movement that you need now, any little stretch, now's the time to do it. And we're going to settle for just a few moments in Shavasana after that. So often after what we've done, just a simple bringing the knees to the chest and broadening out through the groins and thighs and just rocking side to side is sometimes really helpful. But I do leave it to you and explore just a little bit what would feel good. And then as you're ready, find yourself into the most comfortable Shavasana you can manage right now. So all of you are laying down. I'm just going to sit up just so because I don't want to fall asleep myself. So you release the weight of your body to the floor now. Just like we began, you really want to get a sense of the heaviness of your body and just feel yourself supported by the floor. Just for a few moments, there's nothing you need to do except surrender. And then slowly from this surrender, you're going to just put a little focus on your breathing. Just in this very beginning stages, you're going to focus on inhaling to a count of 4, and you're trying to exhale to a count of 8. If you don't make it to the 8 on the exhale, of course, you're just going to exhale as long as you can and then stop. You're not going to struggle and stress yourself over that. So just all together now as you inhale next, inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can continue like that a couple more breaths, or if it feels better, you can let go of all control of your breath now. So just choose. You're either continuing with the longer exhales, or you're just releasing completely. Letting the breath do whatever it would like to do. So for those of you who have decided to go a little further with the pranayama, with the longer exhales, I'd like to ask that you discontinue that now. Just allow the breath to be as it is. And all you're doing at this point is just observing your own breathing pattern. Just stepping back and watching. You're not trying to change anything. So as always, since we're in our own homes, you can continue with your own Shavasana if you prefer. And if you would like to close out with me, you're coming to a seated position. From your seated position, hands to the heart. Namaste. Thank you all.